Coach, whenever you're ready, we'll start with an opening statement about the weekend, and we'll open it for questions.
Yeah, I thought a lot of progress this weekend. Really great to see the offensive production that we had for all 5 games. I thought Marissa McCann threw extremely well. I mean, we had an opportunity to win all 5 games. Looking back on our season, I know what our record is, but so unbelievably happy with the progress that we're making. We had huge strides this weekend. It's really coming down to 1 inning every game. And if we could eliminate those 1 big innings, I think we have more opportunity to be able to be more successful and win more ball games.
You touched on it a little bit, but Marissa going kind of the distance like she did, multiple times this past weekend. What did she kind of show you, I guess, this weekend?
That she has so many tools, and she doesn't live on 1 pitch, and that was really interesting. Coming in yesterday against Nebraska for her 2nd time, she threw one way in game 1 and really dominated them, and Nebraska made great adjustments, and then she's able to get people out throwing different pitches to different parts of the zone. That's what elite pitchers need to do, and she really competed and kept them off balance and just did a real tremendous job in giving us an opportunity to be able to win.
How have you liked how she's kind of approached this year, the ups and downs that she's been working through on, in the circle? How have you liked her approach to kind of just staying in there?
She has to learn how to be an ace. She wasn't an ace last year, and she has the ability. And, some of these outings, we're throwing her against the best competition that we're facing. And she's realizing that she can beat anybody in the country. And it's just putting 7 innings together and being a little bit more competitive at times. And we talk a lot about failure recovery, that our game is all based on failure. And there's going to be times she's going to, walk somebody, or we're going to make a mistake behind her, or she's going to give up that big hit. But how does she respond and recover from that failure? And that's the growth that I'm seeing in her, that she is responding. She's elevating her game. She's getting some key outs when we need them.
I think Madison Walker hitting her 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th home runs this past weekend. Can you talk about the start to her sophomore season that she's having?
She came in mentally prepared. She's worked extremely hard on her mental game. When she faces her own pitchers in practice, she has such a great game plan. She knows exactly what she's trying to do, and she's taken that familiarity of her own pitchers and taken it to her opponents. She studies film. She understands what the pitchers throw, what pitches she's looking for, what she's trying to eliminate, and she just stays composed. Like, she doesn't try to do anything different based on who we're facing, what the situation is, runners on base, leadoff batter. Extremely impressive outing this weekend. And what was neat is yesterday, after her first home run, not her grand slam, but her first home run, I had said to her, you figured it out, haven't you? And she's realized what her strengths are, and being able to capitalize on those strengths.
Obviously not ideal that you had to move the home opener and postpone that, but on the flip side of that, is it kind of nice to get, I guess, a week to kind of prepare now for SEC action as you head to Kentucky?
For sure, and I didn't want to have our home opener in inclement weather. Definitely not conducive to being able to start on our home field and also with our fan base. So it's going to work out great that we're able to move it to the back end of our invitational. But again, now we have 4 days to be able to prepare for opening up SEC play, going on the road again. Different mindset. The cliche just means more, and it does. And we have to prepare differently, and it's a different part of the season. But facing the same opponent 3 times is tough. It's extremely tough. So we have to make those adjustments.
You've gotten the opportunity to see Taylor start a couple of times now. How do you evaluate her production in those first couple of opportunities as a start?
I think the most impressive thing is that she's able to go the distance. Her conditioning level is extremely strong for someone who's only thrown 1 or 2 innings in their spots. So I think that's the most impressive thing, that I'm not seeing a drop off in her endurance and her pitching endurance. And her ability to be able to keep batters off balance 2nd and 3rd time through the lineup is something that she hasn't done until this point in time.
And how do you go about kind of evaluating the difference in her value as a starter versus being able to, have that reliable option coming out of the pen?
When I'm scouting teams, I watch every single hitter multiple times. I'm probably watching close to 60 pitches thrown at every single hitter of every team that we play. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. And I know what the potential is of every single pitcher on our staff, and I want the best matchup to be. So putting Taylor in those situations, it's watching the opposing team, and Taylor would be the best pitcher in that situation based on what those hitters' strengths and weaknesses are. And then being able to set it up for someone else to be able to come in. It also saves our bullpen. It also saves our 2 starters that we've had, so we're not wearing them down throughout the course of the year, because we're going to need them to be extremely strong.
And then how do you just kind of evaluate the biggest areas of growth that you've seen kind of from that first weekend all the way up till now, and then where are the areas that you still see a lot of room for development?
The most obvious is defense and offense. I mean, defensively, we're playing much better than we were earlier on in the year. It helps to be able to practice on dirt. I mean, that's the first thing, and then just being comfortable, and then also kind of solidifying who's playing next to each other. Like early on in the year, I had a lot of movement, a lot of different personnel playing, trying to see what the best fit was and how everyone worked together. And I think we found some things that we're able to do well, and then being able to make some late game adjustments based on personnel. But I think we found our niche. And then offensively, what we did this weekend was extremely impressive. I mean, to be able to put up 9 runs against one of the best pitchers in the country, speaks volumes. And it was a loss in the scorebook, but it was a win for the program and being able to maximize what we did in the preparation and what we need to do forward.
And then what are the areas you're still looking at as development spots?
That big inning, we're giving up one big inning every game, and that's where we have to kind of stop the bleeding, is what coaches will say. Is we're gonna give up a couple hits. It's the multiple run home runs that we gotta eliminate. It was unfortunate that McCann gave up a 3-run home run, and 2 of those people got on base with 2 jam shot bloops that just fell in. So she wasn't hit hard up to that point, but we have to eliminate that 1 home run that's giving them a 3-run shot, because that's a little bit tougher to come back from.
For players who haven't really seen SEC action before, what do you tell them about what's different about SEC play? Obviously, you guys face tough competition to start the year, but what's different about SEC action?
And that's the good thing with our schedule, that we have faced tough competition. So it's not going to be a big difference in terms of the level of play. SEC coaches are brilliant, and the adjustments that they make from at-bat to at-bat, inning to inning, game to game, is unlike anything. And the pitching is so strong the whole way through. So you're not going to get an easy outing, and you might have one opportunity to be able to win. But the thing is the past 4 weeks have really prepared us for that. So it isn't going to be anything different from that standpoint. But playing the same opponent 3 days in a row is. So you might have one result on Friday, doesn't mean you're going to have the same result on Saturday and Sunday, and that's the big difference going into SEC play.
Do you have to kind of have a little bit of a mentality shift when you go into such a tough league like you guys have?
Oh, absolutely. You have to have failure recovery. You have to have amnesia. You have to be able to forget what the past results were, either positive or negatively, because every game does matter, and you're going out trying to. Obviously, you want to sweep, but you want to win the series. You want to come out, 2 out of 3. But it's also trying to figure out how they're countering and how they are making their adjustments against you, and you have to counter back. It's a dogfight. I mean, and it's punch for punch. So if they're punching you, you got to be able to punch back and defend. You can't stay there and keep taking the hits.
What stands out about Kentucky as the other this weekend?
Well-coached team, really deep bullpen, a lot of versatility on the mound. They're always aggressive. I mean, they're an extremely aggressive team. Their ballpark is very fun to play in. It's a hitter's ballpark. So we know that there's going to be a lot of balls in play, and we just have to continue to make plays behind them. And the big thing for our pitchers is just to keep the ball in the ballpark. Let's allow our defense to make plays.
Kaylee Langer, you obviously talked about her last time. We obviously had some success at the plate this past weekend. What did you like about her approach that you saw from her?
More consistent. She's she's such a spark plug, and we really need her in the outfield, so getting some offensive production out of her was really important. She had much better at bats. She swung at better pitches. She was in better time. She was in a better hitting position. She had a couple key line outs that just didn't fall, but being able to see her square the ball up more is a good sign, and also drawing walks. I mean, that's the thing with a hitter. If they're drawing walks, then they're starting to see the strike zone better.
Any questions from Zoom?
Yeah, Coach, I want to ask about Julia Crenshaw. Her season-by-season batting statistics have been a little up and down, but this season with her on start, what do you think has been the difference compared to how she performed last season?
Yeah, we really found the way she has to hit based on her body type. I mean, she's a middle infielder that we're putting behind the plate, and then as a catcher, you're in that squat position, and she needs to hit as the tall, lengthy person that she is, not as a catcher that's short and squatty. So it's finding a better mechanics for her, and a better hitting position for her that allows her body to work more efficiently, I should say.
Quinn, do you have anything else? Anybody else on Zoom?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to follow up on that because I've never heard that from a baseball or a softball coach, knowing somebody's body type and, executing a different plan of attack from the plate. Is that something you've been doing for a while, and what's that evaluation process like?
No, we had a company that does some movement preferences come in, and they kind of educated us and worked with us, the coaching staff, and also our strength and conditioning on different body types and how to be able to recognize everyone's neutral and where everyone is most efficient. So it was us getting educated on the difference between, there's two different types of athletes. There's aerials and terrestrials, if you wanted to get a little bit more detail. And when you're in a squat position, you're more in flexion. And Julia wants to be an extension, so she's a lot more upright. If you were to look at video comparing her to last year and even the previous 2 or 3 years, we were putting her in a very flexion state when she was hitting, and she's someone that wants to be more upright. So it's allowing her body to be more comfortable and maximize the leverage that she has.
And just last thing to follow up, is there anybody else that you've seen change via sort of that process you just talked about?
She's the most obvious. Sanaya Hill, you don't have anything to compare with Sanaya Hill, but Sanaya is also another one that is very similar. And then on the other side of it, Madison Walker, realizing, and Cara Daly as well, in how their body needs to move and being able to put them in a position that is just more comfortable. The analogy I can give you is if right now you were to cross your arms in front of you, you're gonna do what's most natural. And if as a coach I tell you I want you to switch them, like you can do it, it just feels awkward. And if you're not putting an athlete in a position that's most natural to them, like the repetition, they're gonna continue to be able to do it, and they might have some success in crossing their arms the other way. It's just gonna feel awkward. So it's finding the best position for their body to move the most naturally.
Thank you.
Yep.
I just had a quick clear-up question. You mentioned that the Kentucky Stadium is a hitters stadium. What does that mean? And maybe can you recall earlier this season playing in one where it really made a goal?
Earlier, no, because a lot of the ballparks that we played at have been Cloverleaf Complex with multiple fields at one site. John Kropp Stadium, Mizzou has, if you look at the last 6 or 7 years, it's been a hitter's ballpark for us. I don't know if it's the visual. It is a very low outfield fence, and there's not a lot in the backdrop, so I think the hitters can pick up the ball a lot better. There isn't stands in the outfield. It's completely wide open, so you can see the ball a lot better. So ballparks that don't have that backdrop with a lot of visual distractions are easier for the hitter to be able to see the ball.
Awesome, thank you, Coach.
Yep. Good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
I'm sitting in my office right now. So I just have a question about the defense. I'm wondering, since some of us haven't been able to see them recently on TV or anything like that, if you have seen some improvements from the defense as the season has progressed.
Huge improvements. Cara Daly is one in particular, and I'm not gonna name a stat because then I'm gonna jinx her. But the last 2 weekends, so 10 games, she's played extremely well. And it's, again, we've made some adjustments. So here you take a 3-year starting third baseman and you put them in the middle infield where it's a different angle and the ball has a lot more depth to travel before it gets to her. We need to keep her short and quick and have reactions like she did at third base. So when she's fielding a ball, she tacks it like she's a third baseman. She's not letting that ball travel back to her anymore. So we made some adjustments there. Madison Walker's a really strong third baseman. The one thing that's up in the air right now is we need some more offensive production out of Abby Hay. So we've played around with having Madison Walker go over to first base and Sanaya Hill at third base, which gives us a little bit more offensive production. And the adjustments in the outfield, Stefania Abriscato has been really strong in the lineup, and she's been in right field, but then late in the game, I'm putting out someone else out there that has a little bit more range than Stefania. And it's been Daniel Blackston, it's been Addie Kohler, it's been Maya Dodge. So being able to maybe get another bat in the lineup, but also someone that can cover a little bit more ground late in the game.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
You're welcome.